Spawning up in the top right hand position, he is the blue Terran player. He's currently 1-0 up in this best of 5 as I adjust the overlay. He plays for my insanity. It's Jjakji. And his opponent spawning in the bottom left hand position, the green Zerg representing Team Dignitas, Tefel. Both of these two qualified for WTS EU Season 1 2014. God, that's a mouthful, but yes, that's what's occurring. So, game number 1. Let's talk a little bit about that while we wait and see what these two open with. Game number 1 saw Jjakji go for the 2 Reaper, 4 Hellion Pressure, while securing up a quick 3 bases. Tefel decided to respond to that by not trying to take his own third quickly, but instead got some roaches out very fast. He made a nice little wall off at his natural, which we'll imagine's here now, but it created a choke, and that choke worked well if he had roaches out, because anything trying to come through gets shut down. If the queens could hold it, then yeah, it's complete wall off. Unfortunately, Jjakji killed one queen early, so he could get through, and then, with only lings to defend, every time Tefel tried to go through that wall off, Hellions were there, ready just to roast them. They could just back through. So that was a problem. Tefel lost quite a bit. He then popped out a lot of roaches going for a counter push. But Jjakji had already seen it, started Marauder production, had a bunker up, and he couldn't do anything. That meant Tefel's drone count was low and his hatchery count was low at 2. Jjakji took his third base throughout that pressure and was all good. He then followed that up with a single tank, a couple of Marauders and Marines moving across the map with 1-1, and Stim. And yeah, caused a lot of damage. And from there, Tefel couldn't really bring it back. He also went for a slightly more unconventional Roach Hydra play, trying to go then into Infestors with Fungal Growth, but couldn't actually get that to materialize. Not the normal Zergling, Baneling, Mutalisk we see up against Bio-Tank Force from Terran, but still, Tefel does have some quite creative plays and makes them work too. So I don't think he's out of this series yet by a long way. What I suspect is that we could be seeing all 5 games here. Now, we do have the barracks getting thrown out for Jjakji, following up the CC first. He's also got the gas, so just as we've seen previously, playing pretty greedy in terms of tech and economy, no standing army for quite a while. He can follow this up, most likely, with a factory. He'll then get a reactor on the barracks, switch those, get some Hellions out, and then he's got 2 ways of following on from that. First, he can get down a starport, get a tech lab on the barracks, and go into Cloak Banshee. The other way he likes to play is to just get that third CC very quickly. Both have benefits. The first, with the Banshee, much more harassment heavy, tries to deal damage to his opponent and kind of tax their multitasking a lot. Maybe even take out the third, like he did to Snoot earlier on this evening. The other option that he has available to him is to actually go for that quick third base, and that means that he's got good economy, but he can't harass quite as heavily, may not force as many units. So wait to see what Jjakji does decide to do, but for the moment, just sitting there, going along the normal path. Tefel also opened pretty normally this game, busy injecting down, got good numbers of drones coming through, all looking solid. If we recall back to game number 1, Tefel actually did an amazing job of defending against Reapers with nothing but queens and drones, not a single Zergling made, and he's replicating that 0 Zergling approach this game by just pumping drones. He's also going for an exceptionally fast third base. Generally don't see this for about another minute, so it is a very greedy play. He's able to afford it because he didn't take any gas. That means he's got no Zergling speed though, and potentially could cause him some problems against Hellions. Now, as we can see, Jjakji is going to be getting up his own third nice and fast. I like the way he makes it as part of his wall off at a natural base. It makes him very secure from big pressure plays, which is something that he may suspect due to Tefel doing exactly that in game number 1. So it's just playing cautious, knowing that he's being quite greedy, and just making sure that he's safe from that. And it actually looks like he's going to go for the third CC, then into the Banshee as well. Potentially. Oh, actually no, it's just for Stim. Just for Stim. Never mind. Been casting a long time. Forget I said that. Anyway, all going good. Everything looking solid on both sides. Double Evo chamber, or single Evo chamber, and a Roach Warren. If we don't see a second Evo chamber, I'm going to suspect that Tefel's going for... Okay, there we go. Second Evo chamber coming down. If we didn't see that, I'd expect, because of the fast lair and the third, that we'd see speed dump from the Roaches, and then a +1 little neat timing push coming down with a lot of Roaches. But Could still see that, but just with 1-1. Wait and see. I'll be interested to know whether Tefel he's going for the +1 missile attack again, so really not sticking to the conventional playstyle. Meanwhile, Jjakji going for the double engineering bay, going to get his own double upgrades going, starting them just momentarily later than Tefel's, about 15 seconds later on the attack, pretty much equal time on the armor upgrades there. So as long as they both keep going steady, it should stay relatively close. However, you do notice, as a bit of a general rule, that Zerg players will get +2 very fast, and so will Terran players. But then when Terran continue on to 3-3 due to already having the armory down, you unfortunately don't see many Zerg players get down their hive quick enough to start 3-3 immediately off the back of 2-2. And that's where a Terran player can get an advantage. But that's mainly important when you see Mutalisks out because of the marine damage against them, whereas we're seeing a Roach heavy style from Tefel, which is very cool, and I'm excited to see if he can make this work, because I like unconventional stuff, it's definitely more cool. But anyway, Jjakji's sitting here at the moment, 6 Hellions just guarding the center of the map, trying to keep a good tab on exactly what Tefel's doing, but for the moment Tefel just pumping more Roaches. Interestingly, not starting up Roach speed, even though he does have his lair down. Instead opting to get the Hydra Den down slightly sooner. A lot of Tefel's minerals are being spent very quickly on getting these Roaches down, so that's something that he's aware of. Novaseer gets sniped off by those Marines, which is always good. Supply blocking Tefel, very good. Admittedly, only for a second or two, but when your opponent's pumping out a lot of Roaches, supply blocking them for a while is incredibly good. So, Roach is still sitting around, getting ready to defend against drops. This keeps Tefel's drone count a little bit low. He's still at 64, but he's needs to get a few more down here to saturate his third base. But what Tefel does have is 20 Roaches. But for the moment, he hasn't used them. It is a bit more stylistic of how Tefel does like to play generally. He gets out a good number of units slightly earlier to be really safe, and then drones heavily after. But Roach Hydra, as I've mentioned previously, isn't the most common strategy utilized by Zerg. So it's great against these Hellions, but a small number of Roaches, this many Roaches, could stop these Hellions easy. The next push will take a lot more, but Hydras are going to be here this time, and that's because the better economy generated by Tefel taking that third base early. As a result, Jjakji probably won't do too much damage with this push unless he gets some very nice engagements. Even though he's got the 1-1 upgrades, so's Tefel. So that should keep things pretty similar. Now, an Overseer and a Queen making their way forward. I'm not quite sure where this Queen is going, to be honest. Going on a little bit of an adventure. Maybe put on a similar hockey. Yeah, one Queen is on a hockey there with an Overseer, unfortunately. Hopefully it has been realised that the Queen is there. Going to actually just kick back and medevac a little bit, but interesting bringing a Queen with this push. Of course, Jjakji now sees that, and he's got a good amount of stuff out too. He's got those 2 tanks. That's going to really help against the Roaches tanks. They've already sieged up. He should be fine defending his third base in this area. But of course, Jjakji got the option to go for an absolutely huge concave should he want to. Tefel, huge concave. And that's exactly what Tefel's preparing with. Spreading out, reducing the splash that the tanks will be able to do to him. And this is a very large army. 122 army supply up against just shy of 90. If Tefel comes from all angles, 2 tanks will not be able to stop that. It's just terrifying. So the Queen coming in first, going to soak up a bit of tank damage initially. That's why the Queen comes in there, takes a couple of tank hits, allowing Tefel to come in first. There's also the transfuse available. The tank hitting solely on that Queen, not getting retargeted by Jjakji. Tefel just stomping through, but the infantry dealing so much damage, those tanks tearing it apart. Is Tefel going to be able to break this? He's rallying more units across the map. That tank dealing so much damage. It's going to be a tight hold if Tefel makes it. But Jjakji looks to be able to defend, pushes this back, and while that was a lovely orchestrated push, Tefel holds it off, and there was a lot invested in that by Tefel. He's now lost nearly double the resources of Jjakji for killing a bit of very little. So Tefel moved his army, unfortunately, he seems to think, so didn't actually get the best engagement, but yeah, thanks from Jjakji. That was very kind of Tefel if he did do that. Now, tank still dealing some good damage. Tefel attempting to push through, the medevac healing, going through the roof, and of course the tank just able to start working through everything. And this is why many players don't go Roach Hydra against Terran when they're going bio, because the medevac healing amount is so good that the low DPS but high damage of roaches means that, yeah, they hit pretty hard, but then they heal up enough that it takes quite a few hits to actually kill anything, whereas a Baneling detonation instantly takes down those Marines and therefore stops the medevac healing becoming an issue. So Jjakji's definitely in a ace spot right now. He's up by just short of 10 workers. He's about to start dropping as well, and while there is a Spore Crawler at the top, Jjakji can just come and drop down here somewhere and put on a nice bit of pressure. Tefel's army is all on the offensive. The tank count looking very sizable, up at 5 now, and to be honest, he's going to have to do something very nice. Sees the medevac coming though, and so will be able to intercept that and hopefully sort out this drop nice and quick. Tefel does pull back his entire army to deal with this drop though, so that takes the pressure completely off of Jjakji. His medevac can boost away to safety. Going to go over some dead space just to make sure that it's completely safe. But yeah, by doing this, Jjakji feels safe. He's moving forward. That tank count is getting ridiculous, up at 7 already, and the 4th base now getting floated over. This will become a planetary fortress. The 4th a lot harder for Jjakji to hold than the 3rd, because the tank position here holds obviously both the natural main and 3rd, but Jjakji's compensating for that by being aggressive, forcing Tefel to be on the defensive. Tefel's going to be very cautious here. That tank count, as I mentioned, pretty high, but Jjakji pushing his army out a bit too far. Needs to retreat back a little way to allow these siege tanks to get their damage out, and that's what we're seeing now. The tanks starting siege through everything. Tefel's supply plummeting, and I wouldn't be surprised to see GG. There we go. Jjakji takes an early 2-0 lead and is now one game away from 3-0ing Tefel in these finals.